Hey guys, in this episode I'm going to show you how to design a book cover. Hey guys, and welcome to Calvin Designs. My name is Calvin and I design, and I guess that's why it's called Calvin Designs. In this episode I'm going to show you how to design or make a coffee table book cover. So a book cover, different styles. We're going to go through different photos, different styles, colors, fonts, and so on. It's very simple stuff, easy to follow along. Click right here to subscribe to my YouTube channel and get all these episodes as they come out. And click right here to get the raw files or the source files to this episode and every other episode that I do. All right, it's very simple stuff. We're going to get started right away. If you've downloaded the files, they should show up on your desktop and you'll have some photos and fonts. The fonts, you should actually follow my first episode, How to Manage Fonts, and that'll show you how to activate all the Google fonts for free, and it'll make this episode a lot easier. All right, so first thing we're going to do is go into Illustrator and create a new document. And I have all the settings here, but if you don't, click on Print, go to Units, Inches. We're going to make a 9.5 by 12 inch coffee table book. CMYK, all the rest is just the default stuff. We'll leave that in there. Hit OK. All right, then the first thing we're going to do is place a file. So I have a little shortcut, which is Command 3. If you don't, that's fine. You can just hit place, and let's do that. Go to here, links, and let's start with, I wanted to start with the black and white New York photo. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, that's the one. And I place it as a link. So if it's not a link, that means it's embedded. It gets saved in the AI file or Adobe Illustrator file. I prefer to keep it linked. That way, if I want to do any changes to the photo, it just updates right away. Very simple. Place it, and here we go. All right, it's actually really small. This would be too small for printing purposes, but seeing that this is, I'm trying to teach you how to design. This should be actually good enough. It'll pixelate a little bit, but in terms of layout, this will show us how this works. All right, so as you can see, my artboard is everything that's around here, and then I have this edge, which is my page. Now I'm making it so that it fits and covers the whole thing, right? If I want to see what it looks like cropped, very simple thing. I'm going to have to create a box using the rectangle tool, or M. And I can click anywhere here, just click, and then it's going to ask me width and height. And I'm going to say 9.5 by 12, hit OK. And then up here, I want it to be, where is it? Right here. So I want it to be up in the top left corner. If you want it to be, really precise and perfect, you can go and look at so in the Windows, we have info here, and you can see that it's 0 and 0. Or if you want to look at your transform, which is already open somewhere, let's just click on transform. Here we go. Can't see it. Transform. There it is. So 0, 0, 9.5 by 12. Okay. And then now I select both of these. The object in front, which is a vector object, is going to become the mask and mask everything that's outside. So to do that, the shortcut is Command 7. But if you want to see where it's actually done, that's here in clipping mask, make. All right. So now I have essentially two objects. And if we look in our layers here, I have a clipping group. And in this clipping group, I have a rectangle, which is the shape that I made. And then I have my link. All right. So I can transform these independently or together as one. If I transform them together as one, as you can see, I can shrink them or I can move them. It's fine. And here's the photo. If I want to just change the photo, which I do, I think it needs to be a little bit bigger. I'm actually going to zoom out just a little bit down here. Let's go to 66, something like that, just so I can get a little bit of a better view. I'm going to move this over. I'm holding down Shift to do it in increments of 10. It's a nice little trick. Something like this, and like that. Make it a little bigger. Something like that. I'm trying to find a good crop on this photo. It's a little bit of a tricky photo to get a decent crop on. Maybe cut a little bit at the top. Something like this. I'm not supposed to have things on the border like this, but I'm just gonna go with this one for now. Okay, so this is the first. This is actually my first cover design, so I'm going to call this just cover 1. And next thing I'm going to do, you notice how whenever I roll over, there's this big box that comes over. That's smart guides, all right, and that's here and here. Command U. They can get a little in the way sometimes, and so I turned it off. I'm going to make this I'm going to move this over to the right a little bit because there's a couple things on the right there that was bugging me. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is create a title. All right, so it's going to make up a title, and we'll call this very simply black and white. And I'm going to want the word, actually capital W, and photography. That. All right, they're a little small right now. I'm going to go ahead and lock. So this is my object down here. Let's actually name this. We'll call this BG photo for background photo, and click this little button here that locks it. All right, select both of these, make it bigger. And now, if you followed along episode 1, which was how to activate fonts, very simple. If you haven't, I recommend you do that really quickly. It's pretty easy and fast, but you really need to know how to activate fonts. So if you have, here are all the fonts that I've loaded, and the fonts that you need, I've actually supplied them in the source files. So in this case, I'm actually going to use Lato here. Lato hairline. Okay, it looks pretty bad as it is, and I'm going to, let's just make this a little bigger, something like 88 point or something. All right, I know it looks a little strange right now, but bear with me. And I'm going to make a, here in this case, Command U or View Smart Guides will help, because I want a box on the edge of the page. And I'm going to make something like this, something like that, right? Except I want the black and white to be in front, something like this. Black and white. Let's make this text all white. So I selected it here, just so you can see what I'm doing. I have this and this selected. Click on the foreground, bring this all the way to white, hit OK. I could also just go to my swatches and select the white. That's another way of doing it. Okay, I think I made this a little bit big, but let's concentrate on the look for now. This I actually wanted. I looked at it earlier, and I like Cinzel black, kind of cool. A lot smaller, something like 12, oof, that's a little too small. Let's try 18, yeah, something like this. And something that works nice with black and white is kind of a red, kind of a dark red actually. I like to make this color, I'm gonna go ahead with 100, and let's say 30, so kind of a dark red. By the way, every time I make a color, always global. Global means I can come back and change it, and it'll reapply it to every object. And yeah, that's pretty simple. Just hit, if you're going to create a swatch, make it global. And let's call this dark-ish red. There we go. It's a little too bright, but one thing that's pretty cool with this red, I'm going to go to transparency and hit multiply. So it kind of gets the vibrancy of what's behind there. It's a little dark, so once again, because I made a global color, I can go in here and say, you know what, it should be a little lighter. Let's try 10 here. Preview, not bad, not bad. All right, let's go with this for now. Actually, maybe 15, just in between. All right, something like this. And I see that my black and white is a little too big. I don't want this to kind of encroach on the building over there, so I'm gonna just shrink this a little bit. And this, I want to kind of an even run around here. Probably the best would be to have the same space that I have here on this side. So something like that. Let's move this out of the way to see. That's pretty close. And yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. And this is a little bit, I need maybe to make this a little bigger. Actually, there's too much space in letters, between letters. There's too much kerning. So I'm going to go down to my characters here, and I'm going to go to minus, let's try 50. 50 is pretty good. I think 50 works out pretty nicely, and which means I can make a bigger font, something like that. Okay, and I'm going to move this down a little bit. I want it kind of centered. Okay, that's pretty good. And then this maybe somewhere down here. It's a little off balance, but maybe if I made this a little bit taller, something like this. Bring this a little bit more centered, a little lower, and this, something like this. Okay. Okay, well that's a start. And then I would do something very simple for the bottom. I'm going to write by, actually, capital B, and Kelvin Pimel, that's me. And then I'm going to go here, make that centered, and the kind of font, like Cinzel black, well, I'm going to keep it regular. And a lot smaller, something like 20 point or 21 point. Okay, let's make this white. Okay, so that's pretty good, and then I want to keep it centered on the page, so that's pretty simple. And now I'm going to add an effect, just a little bit so that it doesn't blend in with the background. Very simple, drop shadow. Now my document is in inches, which is very inconvenient for things that have small pixel type things, but this will work for now. 50%, 0.02 inches by 0.02 inches in offset, and the blur is 0.04. I usually transform my document into millimeters because inches for these kind of things is very inconvenient. But this happens to be what I want, just a slight, you can see it just brings out the name a little bit, and that's pretty good. Maybe a little bit too big, and maybe the leading, so the space between those two is a little too big. So I'm gonna go over here and make this, let's try 20, it's not bad. And I could bring this down just a little bit, something like that. All right, let's take a look. Maybe a little too low, bring it up a little bit. Okay, so there's a first type of cover. There's a few things that could be improved here, but I just want to get you through a few different styles. This can be maybe tightened up a little bit, improve. If I were to do this perfectly, I would make sure all my run around here, the spacing here and the spacing here and the spacing here, it's all nice and even. The top and bottom should be even, so this could come down a notch. The red's a little muddy, so I'll clean up a little bit behind it just so it's a little more vibrant. But in terms of layout, this is a pretty good first shot. Maybe bring this down, this whole bit, just a little bit, something like that. Okay, so this is our book 1 cover, and let's call that a done. And let's go to our second one. All right, so in the second one, I had another photo in mind, so I'm gonna go here and place. And I actually wanted, there's this bridge photo that I really like, this one here, it's pretty cool. Place that, okay. And once again, I'm going to create a click mask. So I just click anywhere with the rectangle tool, and hit 9.5 by 12, okay. And let's just center this whole box so it's in the center of my page. Select them both, Command 7 or Object, click mask, make. Pretty simple. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open this, call this cover 2. And this BG photo, background photo. All right, now I'm gonna open that up, and this is the actual photo, and I'm gonna go ahead and make this at least as tall as the page so that I have full bleed. I might wanna just Command minus or Control minus on a PC to zoom out and just get the full height there. And I'm just gonna see it. I might wanna just zoom in a little bit more. I know I don't have very much real zoom, but because I'm more concerned with layout than I am with the quality of this print, because I'm not actually gonna print this, this is more for design purposes. So something like this, kind of like that crop a little bit. We'll tweak it a little bit. All right. One thing I'd like to point out is that there's very, very harsh contrast in this whole photo, so any copy or text that'll go in here will be very hard to read. So what I'm going to do is make another box, same size, hit OK, and bring this, just center this, and I'm going to give it a color. Sorry, before I apply the color, I'm going to say multiply, because I want it to multiply on top of everything, which means it'll mix with whatever's in the back. So let's try some kind of a yellow, not too green. In fact, I'm pretty sure I want no cyan. I want a kind of a, there you go, kind of a nice warmish. There you go, that's pretty good. Maybe tone it down a bit, turn it, pass it down to 80. That's not bad. Maybe a little stronger, 90. Pretty good. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted. So that's there, that's the color that's being applied. And let's go and create our title here. We'll call it very simply New York City. Okay, let's just center this box, bring it down here. It's gonna have to be a lot bigger. Alt and Shift. Alt means from the center, Shift keeps proportions. So when making things bigger, that really helps. All right, for the font, I actually picked a pretty cool, or a font that I like called Limelight. Kind of has a New York vibe. So I'm gonna create a box right behind it, something like this. Keep this behind the New York. Select the New York text, make that white. Like that. All right, and then my box should be 9.5 in width, centered. And let's do multiply, and let's try 80%, maybe 85. I want it to really stand out. Okay, something like this, and something like this. Okay, this could be maybe a little bigger. Just a little bit, let's try 80 point, yeah, that's a little better. Okay, cool. Another thing is, so I kind of like where this is already, actually. I need a little signature. I'm gonna just copy this box, holding down the Alt key, and let's just make a little box down here. Put in a little by Calvin Piedmont. and call let's take the font. I found a font that kind of works well, Poiré. Pick a white color, shrink this down quite a bit. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Let's make this even smaller. Let's start 21 point, just a small little signature somewhere. Okay, maybe make this a little smaller and this smaller. Okay, so, all right, so here's a little trick that I've been doing that I haven't fully explained. If I want to center this in this, I select them both, holding down the Shift key, and without holding down the Shift key, I click on the back item, or the anchor item, and then I say center. So now it's going to center this item based on this item, which works pretty nicely. So that's a cool little trick. Command 1 gives me 100%, and maybe a little bit too tall here. I just want a little something. Like once again, select them both, and bam, centered. That little space is a little annoying. So let's go down to the photo over here, and let's just move this over. I'm just going to cheat a little bit. Okay, instead of making my box bigger, move my photo over. I feel like it's a little monochrome, a little single color, so I'd like to maybe give it another little color. So I'm going to copy this item, Command C, Command F, paste in place, or paste in front. And now I'm going to take the top of it, just bring it down just a tiny bit, something like this. And I'm going to give it a little bit of color. What I want is a good color that contrasts with yellow is a blue. So I'm going to try a light blue, so something like a 70, 1500. So there you go, light blue like that, but maybe not 85. Go fully. There you go. There's a touch of color. Kind of has a cool. I like that look. Has a kind of an old school feel and look to it. The photo could use a little more contrast. While I don't recommend doing this in Illustrator, there is a little cheat that you can do, which is if you copy, paste in place, take that, put it, take the opacity, bring it down to like 30%, and then put it in overlay mode. Now, I don't know if you can see the difference before, after. It gives it a little bit of contrast. I really don't recommend using this as your method of color correction, but it's a quick and dirty trick. Adds a little bit of, it adds this overlay look to your photo, which is more contrast. So anyway, in this case, I just wanted to show you how to do that. And there you go. We have our New York City cover. It's kind of cool. Has some cool perspective and direction in it. And there you go. Well, we've done two covers, so let's go ahead and save our document. And let's just put it in here and call it book covers and save. Now, one thing, if I create a PDF compatible file, it's very nice because I'll be able to see it in other programs like InDesign and so on. But if I'm just going to stay in Illustrator, I would turn this off because my file size will be a lot smaller and it'll be a lot easier to save. So I'm going to leave it on just so that other people can see it and it's more compatible, but I recommend not using this in your workflow. All right, hit OK, and it's going to save, and voila. All right, we got our second book cover. Okay, now because I'd like to save some time for my book 3 cover, I'm just going to copy this, all right? And we'll call it cover 3. What did I save doing this? I don't have to retype my name. All right, it's not that long, but I don't have to redo my bounding box here, which is where all my images are. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this first image, and I'm going to go here and place. Okay, and I'm going to go to my links, and I have this cool forest-like photo. Let's try this one. Okay, place it right there. Now I need that image to be placed right there. So I'm going to take it, drag it down in my layers, right underneath my mask, above the photo, underneath the mask. Okay, I do not need this this color. Let's just hide this for now, and let's go here and shrink this. It looks like this one's pretty big. Well, maybe not quite as big as I thought. All right, something like this. All right, one thing we do not need is all this. I'm going to delete this, all that I don't need. New York is in there somewhere. Here we go. Let's turn this into a readable color. All right, we're going to change this. First of all, in this design, I want to do a sort of a, here's my year in photographs. So my 2015 photography collection. Okay, and I'm going to use a nice narrow font called Tulpen 1. Okay, I don't necessarily have a little too much kerning here. -50 is a little too strong for this font. Something like that. this needs to be much bigger than the bottom line, so I figured this out earlier, so I'll show you. And this can be a lot smaller, like this. And now I can change the leading. Let's try 60. That's not enough. Let's bring it in a little bit. Something like that. All right, for now that works. And I'm gonna make some swatches. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick a color here. And the first color I'm gonna do is the color of the 2015, which I've played around with, and I like this. It's kind of a light minty color. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit new, global, and we'll call this light mint. Okay, 2015 here. Find it, light mint. Okay, and then this should be a darker. What I could do is just straight up pick a color from the photo. However, I can't really see anything I'm doing, so I'm gonna go and hide edges. Hide edges actually hides everything, including selection. So if I change my color here, now I can see what I'm doing. Pretty cool, huh? All right, I want a kind of a darker, more vibrant green, just to contrast a little bit. I might not find the exact green I'm looking for. This isn't the green you're looking for. Okay, can't find it. So I'm gonna go make it. Let's do 70, 30, 70, yeah, and 0 black. It's a little too bright, maybe 10 black, 85, 85, that's pretty good. Let's try that. Ooh, that's pretty good. Maybe a little too bright, which means not yellow enough, I think. 95 is a little better, and let's try 15 black. There you go. All right, we'll call this dark mint. Global color, done. Okay, another thing is, so I had this yellow, right, that was on top earlier. Now, I actually don't like the totally white in here. I want it to be a light green, so I'm gonna go ahead and select this. Let's just try the light mint. Now, it's good, but it's not quite what I want. Let's do another color and call it lighter mint. Okay, and let's play around with this. 10, 0, 35, something like this. And it's a global color. So I'm gonna go ahead and now edit this, hit the preview button on, and play around with it until I find what I like. So I want a little greener, a little less yellow, like this. That's pretty nice. I kind of want a vibrant minty green in there. I'm in CMYK, which means I can't get the really strong fluorescent looks, but that should be pretty good. All right, something like this I actually like. Okay, and now I'm going to add a design element, which I actually find useful a lot of the time, which is very simple. Just add a rectangle. So I'm going to go here, bring a rectangle that goes over everything. I'm just going to bring it behind the text, 2015 and all that. Okay, something like this. And I'm going to make a new green. Let's call this medium green. And I want it to be 70, 40, 70, 20, something like that. And here I'm going to hit screen. All right, that's kind of cool. And what it's doing, it's basically taking those colors that I put in there out of whatever is in my rectangle. All right, hit center. Make sure this is centered, which it should be. Well, almost. And I like it. I just feel like there's a little bit of yellow that's being taken out of here, or a little too much yellow being taken out. So I'm going to go ahead to my medium green and hit the preview on, and let's see what happens. If I bring my yellow up, that adds yellow. If I bring my green down, that leaves yellow in the shadows. I cancel out of that. Let's start over. Let's go down 10 points here and increase this by 10. Tab. All right, it's a little better. It's a little more in the color than I wanted. A little bit of yellow in there. I don't want it too much. I think it's a little too much. Let's try 75, 65. So that's a little bit of both. All right, so it's not quite as, here it feels like there's a printing mistake, whereas here it feels more of a design element. So hit OK. I actually like that. Let me just see one last thing. How does my black play with this? If I put 0 black, all right. If I don't want my black to be taken out, I should increase it. Yeah, but there's too much black taken out, which makes it a little too flat, so I'm gonna put some of that back. Let's make this 40. Okay, I hit OK, and we're starting to look like a new design here. Center this. I'm gonna change this to the same as the top font. I could just hit this tool here, hit this, except I want it in white. Something like this. And it's a little too big, so let's try 30. 30. Well, I like it smaller. I don't like the names being too big. Maybe just put the kerning back to normal. There's another thing that I like doing, may or may not work great on this, but let's bring this up a little bit. This should be a little bit wider, something like that. So I'm going to create a box, make it 9.5 by 12, so it's the exact same size. Let's just invert this, okay? And then I'm going to center it, and in my transform here, X, Y, so I get this is, let's put this at 0. I'm going to uncheck the link here and say take out minus 0.5. Whoops, undo that. My anchor needs to be centered. Take out minus 0.5, that means it takes out 0.25 from either edge. And doing the same here, minus 0.5. Okay, and then I say, well, I want my stroke to be white. Pretty simple. And yeah, pretty simple. My stroke is at what? Let's make it 1 point. Okay, now the only thing is I don't want my stroke to be on top of everything. I just want it to be here, kind of disappear behind those trees, and here. I don't want it to intervene with this box here. So, how do I do that? There's a couple of different ways. The simplest way that I can think of is I'm going to copy this box, so Command C or Control C. I'm going to go to this object right here, go to my layers here, and I should have here it's actually over here in my appearance, or in your transparency rather. I'm going to make mask. All right, so I've made a mask, transparency mask for that outline. I'm going to uncheck clip, so it's going to show everything. Now I'm going to click on the mask. This is the mask, this is my object, okay? So because I'm in the mask part, you see this is now my layers. I'm just in my opacity mask. And if I hit Command F, paste in place, and let's fill this with black. Now, my line, see if I move this away, see the line is there, and if I move it back, it's hidden. Everything that's black at this point is going to hide my object. All right, you might have to do this a couple times to get used to it, but it's pretty simple. I'm going to do another thing, which is I'm just going to make another box, put it right here, and then I'm going to take the white arrow tool. I'm going to hit Command H because I can't see the edges, or if you want, show edges. Now I can see my object again. And I'm just going to move this something like this, and this one around here. It's not quite right. Let's zoom in a little bit. This one should be, I'm going to have to edit this manually. I'm going to add an anchor point here, add an anchor point here, add another one here, and then move this one something like that. Yeah, it's not perfect, but I'm zoomed in by a lot. All right, and this one, you know, it could be funny if I went in front of this branch. So let's do this actually. Add a bunch of points, go here. All right, so I wanted this branch to be hidden by it, but I wanted it like that, something like this. Granted, I am at 600%, so I mean you can see that everything's really pixelated and so on, but it'll give you the sense that that line's kind of going behind the trees. Command 1 to see it 100%. You see it kind of just goes back there. I know it's a bit of a quick job in terms of outlining or masking, but it should work. This one's a little rougher, but you know what? This is just for, I might not make it that sharp because it looks like a bit of a blade. I want it maybe just a little more like this. It makes it a little easier. Command 1 to see it. Now I can come out. If I go here in my opacity, mask, transparency, just click right here, and I'm back to my normal document. So this object has a transparency mask. Pretty cool. And there we go. Another book cover. You can move around some of this stuff. Maybe this needs a little more leading. So character, paragraph. Nope, character, and let's increase this a little bit. Anyway, there we go. We have some principal design here, and this is my cover 3. Let's go ahead and save. Okay, let's get on to book 4. All right, book 4. Once again, actually, I'm just going to start over. It's pretty much just as fast. So, cover 4. It's good. Whoops. Cover space 4. It's good exercise. The document 9.5 by 12. Let's center that, and let's place And I'm going to start with this one. There we go. All right, I can scale this down in a couple of ways. I can either zoom out a bunch and then drag this in and then zoom back in. So that's kind of the more usual way, or I've seen a lot of people do it. I like to hit S for scale, which is this tool right here. So S, and then if I hit return, I get the scale dialog box, and here I can say, give me 20%. Now I've scaled that object 20%. It's out of my artboard. Let's just center it and center it. There you go. So that's a nice little trick. S for scale, return 20% if that's what you think, and then center, and now you have an image that's a little more appropriate for the size of your page. Okay, this is a kind of a weird photo to do a design on, but I had an idea for this, which I kind of liked. I wanted to do a book kind of, what if I had to do a book based on like, you know, urban nights, street sort of lights or life at that point. I don't know, something that happens at dusk, with it, whether it's with lighting or people or something. And anyway, that was the idea. And so I'm going to take my mask, bring it above, select them both, Command 7, got my mask. Pretty simple. All right, the crop is a little wrong. I wanted this to be more like on the left, something like this. Maybe make this a little bit bigger, something like that. Pas mal. Okay, something like that. All right, and I can close this. And now I'm going to, whoops, not a new layer. Hit T, select, hit City, and Lights. That's the name of my book, City Lights. Whoops, make this bigger. All right, this font doesn't work. Let's select, I selected Abril Fat Face, pretty cool font. Very much like Bodoni Poster, which is a font I prefer, but this one's free. You can get it from Google Fonts, very easy to use. Okay, I'm gonna make this a little smaller, something like 116. Maybe a little, let's just make this white so we can see a little better. It's pretty good, okay. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and center both of these. And now my lights, I wanted to do a funny little treatment with lights. And I wanted to use this weird orange bokeh light. So I'm gonna go ahead and select this image, copy it, go to City and Command F to paste in front. And then I'm gonna select both of these, so the lights and the photo, and I'm gonna hit Make Mask, all right? And you can't see what it did, but what it did was it took the photo and the text, and it used the text as a transparency mask or an opacity mask, which is kind of cool. You couldn't see it before because it was perfectly lined up. However, if I go here, unlink the mask from the photo, and if I move the photo, you'll see that in the word lights, now my photo's moving around. I could have done this in many different ways. I like using transparency masks for a number of reasons, one of which is my text remains completely editable. If I made a typo, I can just change it. Yeah, so, and I want this to be a lot bigger. Actually, I want it primarily in the orange. See if I can find that. I was hoping this would be a little yellower, but this is fine too. Something like this. I want to get that yellow. Where's that yellow? Am I not getting the right one? Let's undo this. Yeah, I wasn't looking at the right one. So I wanted this light right here. And now I can put this back on. There we go. That's more like it. Okay, so granted I made it really big and you'd get some pixels and stuff. I mean, it's a gradient. You could blur it, add a little noise, whatever. That would work. What I'm trying to show you is I'm using an element of the photo in the background. This is kind of an old school way of designing, which I really like. And now I can link these back again, and when I move, they both move. And I'm gonna actually kind of bring this in closer. Not too close, but maybe if I line the H and the T, kind of to have that nice vertical line. Something like that. Anyway, I like this old school way where we used to put, you know, photos in very hard edges, and I don't know, there's something I like about it, hard to describe. And I gotta sign it by Kelvin Pimon. And I'm gonna put Arape font, and I'm gonna make it white text. Let's make it much smaller, something like 18 point. Center it, just a classic sort of font. I'm trying to make an old school type design here. If I keep selecting the image here, I'll just lock it, so that's fine. Okay. If I want this to be a little more visible, I could always just apply, do you remember earlier I did the drop shadow? Just apply the same amount of drop shadow and that way it just kind of comes out a little bit more. So that's fine. The whole thing could use a little more contrast and color. I mean, this is more about layout than it is about color correction. Anyway, an S-curve, if you're familiar with that, would help, and a little hue and saturation, both of which I recommend doing in Photoshop and not in Illustrator. All right, so we got our fourth book cover. For book number 5. All right, let's call this cover 5. Another thing is, you notice this little color here? Let's bring up book number 4. If I select anything, it's going to be this blue color. Now, which means that in cover number 5, it's going to be this really bright yellow, which is a little harder to read. So I usually skip that one, go back to light blue. I know I already used in book cover 1. It's fine, I'll deal with it. But having those bright yellow outlines tends to be hard to grab the exact right vector points. So, all right. First thing I'm going to do is import my photo, place, and I found this cool texture that I really like. Let's place that in here. Let's just center it. Let's see what we got. Okay. And now I'm going to hit the M, or this marquee selection tool, and same size, 9.5 by 12, center. Select them both, Command 7, clip and mask. All right, we've done this a number of times now. Should be pretty simple. Okay, what am I trying to do? I'd like to, this could be anything. It's kind of I'm trying to make this more of a novel type book cover, so it's not so much a coffee table, but I find it kind of interesting anyway. Let's see, I think I had some more interesting texture back here. Yeah, I like the fact that I have some contrast, really dark here, pretty light up here. So that's pretty cool. I mean, this is really simple. I'm gonna just go ahead and make a 9.5 by, let's do 6, even though it's much too high. Bring it in, let's make this black. Is it just black? Yeah, it's just black. And I'll make it normal 65%. So I'm not using multiply. Multiply would make the darks darker, which I do not want. I want it to be kind of flat, all right? Something like that. We might tweak it a little bit, but for now, let's do this. And the title for this incredible book will be Memories of a Stolen Time. Very mysterious. All right, and in this one, I have this cool font, Alex Brush, which I really like. Google fonts are getting really, really cool. Very big fan of that. So let's just center this, and let's make this just a little bit bigger. Okay, something like this, even bigger. All right, you see this? It keeps getting in the way. It's very annoying. Command U or Control U, and that takes the smart guides off. Really recommend doing that. Okay, and what do we got? I'm gonna make the of a quite a bit smaller. Let's go down to, it's maybe a little too small, 48 maybe. Yep. And let's add a little space here. I know it's not totally centered, but I'm willing to cheat a little bit. Select this second line here and reduce the leading to bring this up. Kind of tuck all of this in together. Same with this, just tuck it in. Maybe one over, this is a little too big still. Something like this. Bring it over. And now this can come up. Kind of almost like a logo, you know? Something like this. All right, this black is really bugging me now. What I'm gonna do actually is pick the black from the photo. That way, yeah, that's much nicer. It's a kind of it looks like a bluish black, a blue black. And you can see, yeah, it has a dominance in cyan, much less yellow, so. Anyway, that fits better. Darkens it. I didn't want to multiply it because if I multiply it, you get these really dark blacks, which is not what I wanted. Suddenly this looks flat, which it's not. So now they both look kind of even. All right, this is a little too tall, and let's select both of these and center them. Right here. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. This can be a little bit bigger, so let's just do that. And yeah, I kind of like it. It's got this kind of a mysterious, but I don't know, intriguing vibe to it. This font is really cool. Texture makes you think there's a lot of detail. And maybe just a tad smaller so that I can stick my name in there. And once again, by Kelvin Pimon. And I'm just going to for the eyedropper tool, pick this. But I really don't want to put that in that font. So I got this other font, which is pretty simple, which is Source Serif Pro. All right, and let's do much smaller. Let's try 12, probably a little too small, 18, and center it and bring it up here something like that. Anyway, the whole thing seems a little bit low, even though it's centered. Tendency to want to have things just a tiny bit above the horizon. Makes things look, I don't know, more balanced. All right, so book 5 cover done. Basically, trying to get different ideas, how to execute them, different backgrounds, and I think the best way to learn is doing it. So that's why I really want you to go through these different designs. You might not ever use these exact designs, probably will never, but every single one of them you learn something new. Whether it's a design component or a technical component, every time it's pretty helpful. Okay, so what do we have next? Let's go on to our next cover. Cover, whoops, 6. Okay. So this one's based on a photo. Let's go and place it. Where is it? It's an old photo of Paris. So I wanted this to look kind of like like an old murder mystery type. Let's go and bring this down 20%. Center. Here we go. All right, I'm going to cheat on this. I like the Eiffel Tower on the right side, so I'm going to flip, reflect, boom. Okay, right click, reflect. And let's bring this a little bigger here. And as before, go to the M, click 9.5 by 12, and center, select both, Command 7. We're getting used to all these little shortcuts. Okay, in the design, so in the photo, I want to make this, it's pretty close to what I wanted. I don't really like the cars down here, so let's just zoom out a little bit, Command minus or Control minus, bring this a little bigger. I want this kind of like here, a little bit bigger, something like that. That's not bad. Maybe a little to the right. There you go. Now we have room for our title up here. Okay. And I wanted to create kind of a blood splot type of thing here. You don't know if it's blood or a rose. I don't know. I had this idea. Well, let's start with the actual blood splots. So there's a cool thing in Illustrator, which if you go into brush libraries, and let's go to get artistic. Yeah, artistic, we should find some stuff like ink. All right. So in the inks, you see there's all these different things. I'm going to I'm going to take this, bring it out here, take these, bring it. I'm just taking all the splatters I can find, and I want to play with them. Okay. I don't really want the brushes. I just want these things. I mean, maybe you could see, what does that look like? Meh, not bad. Scroll down, or just make this a little bigger, like so. Okay, I'm trying to just get a collection of splatters, okay? And I can hit next now, and it'll just go through all the libraries. I'm trying to get blood-looking type stuff, so anything that's a little too, not random enough. Let's go to the next. Nope. These could, to some degree. Nope, 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 no, nope, no, no. None of these. I think I got pretty much everything I can get. Some of these grunge brushes look kind of cool. Let's try that out. That's actually really cool. This one looks pretty cool. Let's try this one. Yeah, these are actually pretty cool for what we're trying to do here. Trying to look at, you'll see what I'm trying to get to. What was that last one? No, it's too strange. Maybe this. Some of these. Although, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I don't know what that is, but whoop. Okay, let's get rid of these. These are some strange 40. It won't work. Okay, so now I've got all these, and they're all in groups and so on. I want them as simplified as possible. What does that mean? I don't want them really as groups. I want them as compound paths, if possible. And I want them all pretty much the same size. So I'm going to hit Command-Shift-G, and this, you can see in my layers here, I have a bunch of paths now. And then I'm going to go to the path finder, if I can find it. I can't find it. So go to the window and path finder right here. Oh, it's here. I have to open this up, Pathfinder, and I hit the union button. It creates, whoops, that's not what I want. Undo that. It's got a clipping mask path around it that I don't like. It's probably in the very bottom. Oh boy, that's a lot of stuff. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the A, and I'm going to click on the border here, so I just have that. Delete it again, hit the V, select all this again, and union. All right, where is it now? It's right here. Well, I created a group. Let's open it up. Not quite what I wanted. Let's undo that and let's hit Object, Compound Path, Make. There we go. One single path. All right. Let's do the same thing here. Group. Let's take this, delete it, select all this. Command 8 is a shortcut for a compound path. And we got this one. Once again, group. And select the edge, delete, Command 8. All right, so we're getting a little collection of compound paths that are done. This one, group, A, delete, select, Command 8. All right, let's try to make these pretty much all the same size, just so we have comparables, and you'll see some of them are missing details. So this one has to be smaller because it's really, you can start to see the detail in there. Let's take a look at this one. Kind of get away with this, but not too much. It has less detail. So, all right, select. Whoops. All right, Command 8. There we go. Let's take these ones first. Ungroup. Select the border path. Command 8. And this guy. Command Shift G. So that's all repetitive, but I'm just preparing all my objects so they're as clean as possible, making my file a lot easier to manage. Okay, this is kind of cool. Let's look at this closer. That's cool, actually. Let's try ungroup, Command Shift 8. Now, that didn't work. I'm going to get rid of this first. Let's try it again. Command Shift 8, and that worked. So we got a single path. Cool. You'll notice that when I create a compound path, it's a single path around, so it has a single color, which is really, really useful. All right, we got the same thing here. Ungroup, select, delete, boom, Command 8, undo, redo. So I am getting rid of something, all those little things in there. I'm fine with that. I just really want some splatters. Okay, and I don't want my file to be too big and difficult to manage. Okay, this one, Command Shift G, select this, delete it, Command Shift 8. Yeah, pretty good, except it should be black. Okay, all right. And is this a single path? Command Shift 8. Interesting. Let's see, where's that object? It has some interesting appearance. I'm gonna let go of this compound path, ungroup, 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 Command Shift 8. Still has that really strange path in there. Whatever, that's fine. Okay, in here, let's make this a little bigger. Command Shift G, delete, Command 8. Okay, what else we got? We got a few in here. Let's make this a little bigger. A, delete, and Command Shift 8. So I'm just turning all of these into simple paths. Again, direct selection tool selects what used to be the clipping mask rather. I delete it out of there. I select all of this again. Command 8 makes it a single path. All right, so I have a few objects now, and I want to make a let's make a blood color. So let's call this blood. Global as usual, and let's go 100, 130. And the 30 might be a little strong, but let's try it. Put all of these in that color, like this, and then take them all again and select, multiply. All right, you don't see a difference now, but once they overlap, you'll see that they darken each other. All right. So we're going to want all of them to be pretty much around the same size because it's supposed to be all the same thing, which is blood splatters, murder mystery, something like this. These lines, they can be kind of like trails, so they can be a little bit bigger, but not too much. I don't want them to be too fat compared to the droplets. Okay, and the cool thing is when they overlap, they'll tend to create some cool texture. That's kind of the whole point. So just try to, actually the easiest thing that I actually like doing, so now that I have all my individual objects, I usually don't put them all together and do my composite here. I'll go to, let's hide all this here. I want this to be kind of over this whole area. So I'm going to, every time I do it, I'm going to copy it. That way I know which elements I've used or not used, and I can go through them. That's kind of nice. So try to keep my elements separated a little bit, like this. And so I know I want to fill in this area. So I'm going to copy, holding on the Alt key, go here, and so that was this one, right? Now I got this here, I got this one I'm going to put here. This one, you know what? Let's make this one bigger. And then I got this one. Let's make this one bigger. Let's copy this over here, this over here. Let's do this. All right. Put this splatter. I like that splatter. Let's put another one of that one. Make it a little bigger. Try to make it a little random, you know? Something like this. And then here and here. I don't have to, you know, use every single one. I'm trying to make an area of splatters, and you'll see as I go along. So I need to fill it in more and more. Maybe this one, whoops, this one can be a little bigger, like this. And this, make this one really big. Whoops, don't want it to be too far out of there. Okay, this is going a little too far, so I can hit the direct selection tool, and let's lock this background here. That way I can just select this, and whoops, it won't let me. It's part of the compound path. What I can do is just delete this. So in that instance of it, it's gone. All right, let's take this and put it over here, make another copy of this. It's a little too far, bring it up here, put this one up here, like so. Some of these, I like some of these more than others. I like this and the edge. So I'm trying to make it layered enough that that I can put a title on there, and it's not going to make it too hard to read. So you see it's getting more and more filled in, and there's more and more detail, which is kind of cool. So maybe a little too much here. You don't want to see that. You don't really want to see repeating items, even though there's a lot of repeating. You don't want to give away the fact that you're using the same object over and over. You want it to look kind of unique. Sometimes you can just take this and rotate it, and it suddenly looks quite different. All right, so we're getting close to filling it in. I'm going to do this again. Rotate it this way. Bring this guy over here. Let's bring this guy here. This guy this way. This guy. I want a few more streaks over here. Fill in this gap over here. Don't want really too many holes, or any at all, actually. So we're starting to look, and it looks like stains, and then so now I've definitely got one big stain here, which is what I wanted. So I need a few more sprinkles, kind of independent. So I could just, I could do that. That's pretty cool. These guys are pretty cool. So maybe over here, and then these guys to kind of fill in this area. This guy maybe down here. That way it doesn't look quite just one big blotch, Let me see, do I have anything else? I'd probably use this guy again and rotate him this way and bring him there like that. All right, so we got a lot of, it's pretty full. And all right, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's keep this, make this a group, Command G to group it, and let's select all these other ones over here and group it. Now it's very important. I made this, every individual object multiply, so they multiply in between each other. If I grouped it and then made that multiply, then it would have just been a big block of red that multiplies over what's behind it. It doesn't multiply the individual items. So very important that those individual items are multiplied. Okay? All right, so let's call this the blood blotch, however you write that. And then these are my master brushes. I'm just going to hide for now. And let's go into our title. So the title of this murder mystery is called The Murder of Lucie Bremo. And let's use the fonts, which I like, the Alex brush one that we used earlier. Let's go with a white font. And let's go with, we're gonna have different sizes, but for now, let's just do a little bigger, something like this. Okay, so I'm gonna change this. I wanna be a little more dynamic in the title, kind of not just like, right now it's all just the same size. Let's pick a small size. So the smallest, which would be the and of, let's go with 36. I think that's pretty good. Maybe a little, actually, let's undo that. Let's go back to 48. the murder should be like 72, and so should Lucy Raymond. Okay, now if I want to move things left and right, it's really hard when you're centered because it's based off the center. If I want to move this left, the of, for example, it's very difficult. I mean, if I want to move it right, it's just everything is centered, so it's a little more difficult. So I recommend when you do placement that's not perfectly centered, just go left aligned. And now, whoops, we're going to use space bars, even though I'm not crazy about this. It works. Let's move this over here. So this way, whoops, let's just undo that. Bring this back here. All right. So I'm going to bring the of over here, something like this. Just with left aligned text, it's a lot easier to move around as opposed to just centered. I want something like this. Okay. Yeah, not bad. All right, so let's bring it all back here, something like this. All right, so where am I? Murder should be a little smaller. Let's go to 72. Whoops. 60. What do we have? Let's go all 60. 40. All right, and we'll increase what we're missing. So this is pretty good. I feel like this is a little big. The over here. So I'm gonna select that line and let's pick 44 instead. Even 41. Yeah, something like this. Move it over a little bit more. Do the same thing to the of. 41 we said. Okay, but I'm gonna move it over. And I'm gonna select this whole line and bring it up with the leading. Something like this. Okay. And it's pretty good actually. It's starting to fit together nicely. I actually like it. It's kind of cool. In case there's areas that hard to read or whatever, when you have white text over this, it's always pretty nice. Just add a little drop shadow. So I added drop shadow, which basically applied the last same drop shadow that we did earlier. To see what that looks like, go to your appearance, click on drop shadow, 0.2, 0.2, 0.04. All right, so I think we can increase the blur just a notch. Well, that went way too far. 0.05. Let's do 0.08. Let's do 75% opacity, 100% opacity. 0.04, 0.04. Not bad. At least we can see it there. Let's hide this here. And well, let's see before and after without the drop shadow, with the drop shadow. So it just darkens letters behind it, which is nice. Just make sure we're visible. Notice how the splotches kind of go in front. Well, you can just open up the background here that has the clipping mask, take the bloodstains, put it right above the photo, and it'll be part of that clipping mask. Pretty handy. Now we don't have to do two clipping masks for the same thing. I could, if I wanted to, just duplicate this. So I'm just going to drag it over to the new button, and it just darkens everything. So while that's kind of cool, I wanted to actually try to see what would it look like if you had a double that was in there making the center a little darker. Let's check it. Command H to hide the edges. I kind of like that better. It gives it a little more depth, and you know that the blood in the center really looks black. I don't know. It looks. I mean, it's mystery. You know, the murder mystery or whatever. So it's in that genre. All right. So we have that. There's a couple things missing. This is too light, and I feel like it should be a little gloomier in the background. So I'm gonna do a couple tricks. Click 9.5 by 12, same as always. Let's go and center that. And where did it put it? Here, I'm gonna put it right above the photo, behind the blotches. And what I'm actually going to do is apply a gradient, which is right here. So just apply that. I want it to be minus 90 degrees, or actually 90 degrees. I want the dark at the top, light at the bottom. And I'm going to create a sort of a different, I don't want a black really. I'm gonna have to create a swatch before I do this. I want a swatch that goes into the dark that we had. So let's just pick black for now. New swatch, and let's go with global color. And let's go with a 60, 65, 75, 80. It's kind of a dark brown, and we'll call this gloom. Okay, so now in my gradient, if I go here into my black, I can take my gloom color, wherever that is. Where did it go? Gloom, 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 gloom. Here it is. Boom. Drag that over there. See, it's kind of a brownish color. And go over here. So I can do, I'm just going to take this and put it in multiply so that my white disappears. Nope, undo that. It did it to all of the objects. I just want there we go. Okay, And it's a little too strong. Let's go 70%. And I don't really want it over the whole thing. I just want it over the top, kind of. Maybe a little more than that. Something, it's not bad. Something like that. And then I want the same for the bottom, but just black, not that color. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Click, do that, and center. Just bring it down. But this time I just want a normal gradient, which I don't have. Yeah, I have right here. Okay. And I'm going to invert and multiply. I just wanted the bottom dark. It's a little too dark. Let's do 70% again. That's not bad. I just want it dark so I can put some copy there and it's not too hard to read. And interesting. Oh, I must have changed. What's this? This is interesting. So I've changed inadvertently. I've accidentally changed the color. Oh, so all of these have become, instead of my blood red, they became that gradient. I'm just going to make sure that everyone is now individually multiply. It is. All right, so my little mistake here didn't cost us too much time. Add the gradient at the top. Where's the gradient for the, here's this one. Let's bring this down here. So that's the bottom gradient, darkens the bottom, and we're still good. Okay, I wanted it really dark. I wanted the title to come out. It may be a little too dark here, so I can just bring this up or go to the gradient and bring this up like that. Okay, so I just want the top of here kind of dark. I could also just bring down here, 65. So I'm just adjusting, minor adjustments. Let's go ahead and put a little, whoops, undo that. It went into, you see how the cursor changed? It means it's going into, it's turning an object into a text object. So just click outside of it, by Kelvin Fremont. And this text object is where? Up here. It's in black text, which is why we can't see it. Let's just do white. Center it, much smaller. Let's go with another font, Railway. I like this font, very simple. Let's go with 12. Bring it down here. Could be even bigger, something like that. Okay, so there we go. We got another book cover. Cover number 6. Totally different style. Just give you some ideas how to color things simply without having to necessarily go in Photoshop. You know, this is an interesting idea. All right, so let's go ahead and save this. All right, that took a little longer to save because there's a lot of vector data, and just in this here, kind of crazy. All right, let's try another totally new one. Just the last try, just a couple new things. And let's place, and let's go with, I think it's this one. I'll go with this one. Let's scale it down. S to scale, return 20%, V to move tool, center. There we go. All right. Let's just increase this. I see this kind of like a Stephen King, scary book, but interesting, intriguing. So again, make an object 9.5 by 12. Let's center that. Select them both. Command 7, and there we go. Okay. I want the image. So the image. Command H, hit V. So now I hit A, just to explain what I did there. I hit A, I select the back. That means I just have the image, not the clipping path. Now I hit V, and then the move tool, which means I can now move around and make this bigger, like so. Zoom out a little bit. And it's just a neat trick to select something and then be able to move it or scale it, because I can't, had I just selected it right in the beginning, it just selects both the compound path and the image, which is not what I want to do. Okay, so here's a cool little trick that I like doing. For some titles. It's not always very readable, but it was interesting to do here. Let's call this book The Way Through. Seems like the appropriate title for this. Let's go with 120 point. Where's the type, character. Let's just do auto for now. And the font that I like for this is Rufina. There you are. Okay. Something like this, kind of big, all lowercase, maybe a little less leading. Let's go with 120, see how that goes. Okay, there's a cool little trick that I like. Doesn't always work, but I thought it looked kind of cool here. And that's Effect, Stylize Feather. And I have to go really low because I'm in inches, so 0.09. Let's see what that looks like. See that kind of, it feathers the vector. It has a really weird way of doing it. It's not like blurring in Photoshop. It's a weird Illustrator version of that. So feather. Do that, and however, it does make it too hard to read, so I recommend if you ever do this effect and it does become hard to read, a cool way to fix that is Command C, Command F, which is copy and paste in place. Go to the appearance of your object, which is your feather, and let's just delete this. So now it's back to how we had it, and except this time just put on 30% opacity. So now you have 30% opacity. So let me show you 30% opacity. So you just have some crisp lines, and then behind it or on top of it, doesn't matter, you have the one that's blurry. If you feel like you're losing that effect a little too much, well, just tone down the crispy edge one. It's just so that it's not too hard to read. If you can't read your text, I mean, you've kind of it's too bad. You've lost the message. So there you go. And then maybe to get the whole image to have some kind of consistent color, let's go ahead and try another thing. Make another box. Let's center and center. Bring this down under here. Let's bring it into the clipping path down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a color. For now, I'm going to hit multiply. So white is just going to be transparent, except the color of it, what I want is kind of a light purpley, something like this, but desaturated more like this to give it an overall color, right? There you go. It gives it, darkens the whole thing. It's a little, looks like what they call the American night when they used to do the films. They used to show nighttime. They just shot during the daytime. They put a big blue filter, so it's daytime, but with blue. So has that, what we call American night look, which I kind of like. And then at the bottom, I'll just put a little discrete by Kelvin. And once again, let's make it a little smaller. Let's make it Dorsa, white. Let's go really small this time. Maybe too small. 21. All right, something like this. And this can just be somewhere here in the corner. If you think this is too strong, like it comes through too much, tone down the opacity a little bit. That's always an easy way. Anyway, I just wanted to show you some this idea, which is it's not all classic; they're all different. And anyway, so there you go. I hope you like this this episode. I hope you learned some things. And if you do, please like it and leave a comment. Leave a comment asking me for specific things you'd like to learn. If I know them and if I'm familiar with it, I would love to show you how to do it. And I'd really appreciate it if you share this on your Facebook or Google Plus or any other social media. It really helps me with my channel, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next episode.